All right, 3, 2, 1. we're gonna 3, 2, 1 that one again.
Yeah, you should put that one in as a blooper.
That's a
3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Guy here, and that can only mean, well, not can only mean, but usually only means one thing, and that is it's beer talk time.
Beer talk.
Yeah. So it's a special beer talk, not because it's lucky number 7, but because it's the end of the year and beginning of 2015. And so Guy and I, to celebrate, decided we were going to get viciously drunk off of one beer.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. So show them what you're drinking.
I have myself a Port Brewing, Older Viscosity. It's a malt beverage aged in oak barrels. It's probably the most expensive single bottle of beer I've ever seen. It is $17 for a 12-ounce bottle. Take
Celebration.
that, Budweiser. And it's from a local brewing company here in San Marcos, and it's got a average screw with your head percentage of 12% ABV. So I'll probably be slurring about 30 minutes in. Nice.
Well, not to be outdone, and we didn't discuss this beforehand. We just walk over with bottles, obviously. I went to one of my favorites. This is Evil Twin Brewing Company. And if you can see that, that is Molotov Cocktail. And that is a 13%er.
Oof.
Yeah.
Right, well, I'm going to pop mine because mine's got a fancy cork in it.
So I just want to, I want to read this because I've never read this. Did you like before, during, and after Christmas? Maybe you thought it poured brilliantly, the alcohol was admirable, well hidden, and you loved how the arrogant amounts of hops numbed your mouth. This beer will knock your tongue off.
Wow.
It's a tour de force in happiness, and by far one of the craziest beer ever made by Evil Twin Brewing. That sounds exactly like what I should be drinking right now.
Yeah, you might want to wear a helmet with that one.
I may be bouncing into the wall behind me after this. All right, so while we're doing this...
hold this away from my face while I open it. It feels like it's going to explode.
While Guy is about to crack himself open with a... let me show you this.
Beer talk. It's all about the beer and the talk.
Bro, remember the first time we sat in front of that screen and we're like, let's do a beer talk.
Let's just talk with beers in our hands.
That sounds like something people could get behind.
Let's see if I get a nice meniscus here.
Oh, wow. You've got that all the way to the top.
Giggity, giggity.
Giggity goo.
Giggity, giggity. Ooh, ooh. I got to be careful. There's a keyboard underneath this thing.
All right, well, take that sip before it lands on your keyboard. That's paying the bills right now.
Cheers. Wait for it. Cheers. I can't move my cup. Hold on.
That's fine.
Holy boo! You cannot take big sips of that one. that is a big boy drink.
Wow.
I'm not old enough for what that is. Oh my God. Woo! Holy Lord.
Wow.
That is liquor. That is not even beer.
Wow, really?
Wow. Gotta get you this one. Holy crap. Yep. Too big.
we 30 seconds. Flew too close to the sun on the wings of a beer.
Wings of pastrami. Just nut.
All right, guys. So enough about the beer and us getting crazy with it. Here's what we wanted to do. Today is a special day. This is actually the last time Guy and I will be creating any content in 2014. And we wanted to...
I thought you were going to scare everybody, tell them we're never doing anything ever again.
Yeah, we're off. That's it. This is it.
We're done. Back to babysitting.
But what I wanted to do today is talk about a few things. One, I wanted us to share a little bit about 2014. The funny part is leading up to this, I was like, I don't know what happened in 2014. Like 2013 and 14 and what will be... It's all like merging into one. So we're going to do our best. And the things that we want to cover are biggest failures of 2014, biggest lessons learned from those failures, and then biggest victories, both company and personal, for us. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our process. And by process, I mean, how do you complete a previous year? And then how do you create for the new year? So a lot of people try to build their new year on top of failures or perceived failures, I should say, from the previous year. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, that is just a recipe for no success. And so we're going to show you our process and talk you through it. And then Guy and I haven't even done it this year. We actually do it right in the beginning of the new year. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So anything you want to say?
First get drunk.
First
get drunk, then get your brain back, then create.
Yes, exactly.
What do I want to say? It's been honestly an incredible year. Like I always dreamed of this year. To have lived through it, it was a different experience, and just big thinking started this year for us in a new way. Like I think we were always big thinkers, but I felt like whatever our ceiling was went up a few hundred floors probably this year, which is why we started, saying a lot of the things I think me and you were always wanted to say, but we're scared to say. The stuff you say in your head that you were wishful thinking, but now it's becoming out loud, and it's building steam. So it's incredible to see it. And already some of the conversations that I've caught fire in the last few weeks that are leading into 2015 are making me really excited about what's coming this year. And then I could really see us doing some hardcore damage in a beautiful way this year. So yeah, I can't wait to have this conversation. I honestly don't have a single answer for any of the questions that you asked. I've been kind of sitting here thinking like, what would I answer? And I don't know. So I kind of want to ask you, because somehow you have a better idea than me. Because
as you can tell,
I can riff off it, but
as you can tell, these are very well scripted episodes.
Whatever. Yeah, our beer talks
really plan these out.
Yeah, but let's just pose the question as is. I would actually want to know your failure after your greatest success. I think there's a lot more to be gained from failures. So I'd want to know, like, what do you feel like, and it can be personal or it can be corporate, company based. Like, what did you feel? I was about to call us corporate. We're like the least corporate people in the world. Yes, more of this. What do you feel was your personal or company biggest success of the year?
So I'll do two. I'll do company, like SatoriPrime success, and I will also do personal. So from a company standpoint, SatoriPrime, I think the biggest transformation that's happened this year has been our ability to put ourselves out there. I think I said this to you in the beginning of the year, which is like we've been creating for a long time with our mouths, right? And we were creating from nothing, and there was no result in the world to justify what we were creating. But we just knew that this is who we are, and this is what SatoriPrime is. And this year, I can see for the first time the boomerang effect, where other people started saying, like, it was like our words leaving their mouths.
Yeah.
And I felt it started at the beginning of the year. And then through that process, like even today, I just posted on my wall, so cool. Terry posted, like, stop what you're doing. And if you want to make sure that you succeed in 2014, go seek out these guys. Like, you're an idiot if you don't. And I was like, how cool is that? You know, we have an army now of people who are just creating our future for us.
People believe in the mission.
Yeah. So I think from like a global standpoint, that's what I think was our biggest success this year. Okay. And how that played out, like in physical results, was, you know, we from nothing created two actual Facebook masterminds this year, and within a matter of about 72 hours filled up both of them, and they were not cheap. These are, you know, at the time we were charging $750 a month for one and $1,500 a month for another. And think, like, just in whatever, it's been, say, 7-8 months that we've been doing that, we're already at $1,000 a month for one and $2,500 for the other, and still filling them up, you know, without enough seats in the place. So I think that for me is the biggest validation that our value that we are contributing to the world is now seen as insanely valuable. Yeah. You know, and then there's a little victory that will play out. There's a little victory that will play out here in February where through our partnership with Jason, we're actually going to be like the traffic guys at Traffic and Conversions come February. Yeah. So for anyone that's going to be at Traffic and Conversion Summit, you'll see us, like, and they'll be talking about us from stage, which is insane. So,
by the way, that looks really fake. Look at that.
Yeah. Maybe after this beer, it'll get a little more like
That won't make any sense on the podcast, but you got to watch the video to see what happened right there.
So I think there's like, so that's the company. And for me personally, and I shared this on a podcast earlier, like, and not to be like all cheapo materialistic guy, but being able to buy the dream car and have it be sitting in my driveway, and now it has a license plate. Like my license plate actually reads my Satori, which I thought was, for me, it's just like a great reminder and a great anchor. But manifesting that with all the hard work that we've put in for years and like not having taken out a penny and then having that be sitting in my driveway, for me personally, has been just such a marker of our work, like all the effort that went in, and seeing this thing. And like every time I touch the handle to open the car, all I keep thinking about is the amazing work that we've done over the past, 3.5 years.
Amazing. No doubt. So I got a little twist on your questions, and I'm going to answer those questions, but for you. So like what I think your biggest achievement of the year was.
Okay.
So you're right. I think the car, it's a physical manifestation of something. It's a measurement of something more than it is like, hey, look at the stuff I have. It's like I set a goal, I created something, I put enough energy behind something. This is the structural language, what we call structural language, like buying a watch or something else. It's just like a landmark moment. You could say, I have the right to, I've earned this. I have the right for this, right?
Yeah.
But my biggest thing for you this year was just ownership and responsibility. I always, it wasn't like I felt this way, but now looking back, seeing you own SatoriPrime, not be part of SatoriPrime, I think was probably your biggest achievement of the year.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because I watched you. So for those of you that don't know how Ilan and I operate, Ilan's kind of more on the relationship business development side of our company, and I'm much more on the technical side. So, it would lead you to believe that I obviously have more know-how when it comes to technical stuff, running marketing campaigns, et cetera, et cetera. But Ilan obviously has a really good knowledge base also. But this year, watching you even be in the mastermind and you seeing how everything's put together, now when I hear you talking to our prospects, the level of knowledge, but also I think a lot of it came just from us beginning to actually mastermind with so many high-end people. And I mean, like this year for me and you has been like, honestly, like learning how to learn all over again.
Yeah.
Right. And understanding the process for mastery, I think at a completely different level. Not that we weren't doing it before, but I think we have new distinctions around it, right? Around what mastery is, and then what learning is, what education is, and our ability to now give that back. But because of that, I saw the impact on you was you started seeing yourself as much more valuable than even you usually believe yourself to be. And you're a very confident person, but something just went like, I really got something here.
I actually know the exact moment that happened.
Okay.
That happened. Remember when I went to that networking event? It was
in New York.
It was like beginning of December. Yeah. And I remember walking into a room of people, and I've also done a podcast about this, about like belonging, right? And I walked into a room with 7, 8, even 9-figure earners, and I was just kind of like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, I don't, like, those are the main conversations. Like, I don't belong here. Like, I somehow snuck in. Hopefully they won't notice. Like, hopefully I don't make a big, like, hopefully I just don't fuck this up bad enough that they invite me back.
Yeah.
And I remember within the first hour, I started listening, and it got louder and louder and louder. And I said, you know what, Ilan, like, business aside, I knew from our personal development side, like, there's an ability that I have to listen to people and then contribute to them on a personal level that regardless of what I know or don't know in the marketing world, like, I can contribute that. But lo and behold, I was having conversations with people, and I was sharing what we were doing and how I can see certain things benefiting them. And I remember every single person walked away and just thanked me. It was like, that was amazing. Thank you so much. Like, I'm absolutely going to go implement that. And I just went, well, if I'm doing that for 7, 8, 9-figure earners, like, there's no effing way that I can't contribute like this to people that are just starting to build their business.
Sure.
And that was the biggest shift for me. It was more, it's like we always say, it's the mindset. It wasn't like I went out and learned something new. I did, obviously, because that drove me to learn more and more and more. But it was just the ability to be able to express that and believe that I am of that high, like that value to everyone.
I think you just realize where your value is best applied.
Yeah.
Like where you can easily give so much value to people and we say this to our students all the time, you're discounting what you know. You're discounting the experiences that you have. You don't see the value in it yet. And again, it's because you really cannot tie the string forward. You can't see the thread. But given enough time, and when you start looking at the thread backwards, it's just like you look at people and you're like, it's so obvious. It's just like, take advantage now, and you want them to like start taking action around what they already have. So yeah, man, like I'm super proud. We've had many conversations in our business along the way where we've had to have like real talk, right? Not beer talk, like real talk about taking things to the next level with each other, like personally taking more responsibility, taking ownership, having integrity in what we say, expanding our educational base. And if there's anything I've really taken away from this year is understanding that specializing is literally a dying creature.
Yes, 100%.
Like the reason it's so important to understand mastery, the reason it's so important to educate yourself on how to educate yourself is because the world where you got to specialize in anything and do that for the rest of your life, and it was valuable for 30 to 40, 50 years, those days are gone. Besides the fact that we're living longer, you need to be well-rounded today. You need to offer people value in so many different ways today that impact their lives far beyond just what you're doing in business. And if you really look at the great CEOs today, the Elon Musks, the Bill Gates, Zuckerbergs, like all those people, the shift in the person who's making a lot of money in the world has gone from a take person, which is what the old CEOs of the past used to be, to give, right? Like Elon Musk's whole mission is to literally like have the human race continue to survive. Yeah. That's basically what he's inventing everything for. That's a mission in the background. So he wants to colonize Mars, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, the whole point is that's what it's about today. And I'm happy that we live in a time that we get to express that and that we feel that deeply and want to give stuff back. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when that shift happened is when the income started going through the roof. Also. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to add to that, also one of the things that I just realized as you were talking, I think our partnership deepened this year. From obviously we always had the brother thing, but like from a work perspective, I think I was always trying to find where I belonged in SatoriPrime. Like what I knew it would take me time because I had to get to a certain level of competence for my true skill set to actually be like, for my creativity to run, I needed to gain a very high level of mastery in certain skill sets. And that took me much, much longer than you. So I think it also took me a lot of time to figure out, well, where do I fit in and what can I contribute? But I feel like ever since that happened, like our work relationship has become seamless. It's
effortless.
It's just so fluid.
Yeah, it's never been this fluid before. Look, we're and not to be gay on everybody, but we're like dance partners who've been dancing with each other for like 3 years, 4 years. And we just know I move my foot right. I know exactly where your foot's going to be. And it really is just a dance. And it's so funny because we've always had distinction dancing in a conversation. Yeah. It's always been a little bit of an abstract concept to me. And it's not anymore. Like I really get that. And I get that. And because I get that in our relationship, I've gotten that in a lot of my relationships.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's made me more fluid and it's made me resist a lot less than I used to in certain areas of my life, especially around relationships, right? Because when people like give you feedback, you hear criticism, and that has really like mellowed out this year for me. Like I can really hear things now.
Yeah.
I feel like my listening's really expanded this year.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to think like the last time, because Guy would get to this point where there would be multiple times in a few month period where I would just like hang up. I was like, I can't talk to you anymore.
Yeah. I'm like every 6 months at least.
But I don't remember honestly the last time that happened. Like when we first started working, it was pretty much like monthly. Like I would let it rise. So at some point I was like, I can't do this. And then it was done with that conversation and it was back to normal. But like, I honestly don't remember the last time we had that kind of conversation.
Yeah. There was a lot of tension in the early days.
Well, listen,
but it was tension. Look, it was, forces applied from a lot of different areas of life, finances and me being on the East Coast and not feeling like I belong there. A million things. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
So that was cool. So you do yours and then I'll do
me.
Of you also.
I've had a really interesting year. Honestly, 2014 was probably the year that I've been waiting for my entire life. When I was what?
Me too. For you.
Yeah. For me, yeah. I mean, I think for a lot of people. But when I was 19 and I did Landmark Forum, what that did at that time was plant some seeds in my head that have literally taken about 13 years for them to really bear fruit. So if you can imagine mending a plant for 13 years, it's kind of what I feel like I've done. And it was not easy at all. And I wouldn't change it, any part of it, not even for a second. But this year was the year that the things that I've been telling myself in my mind for 13 years, and instead of just thinking them, I started believing them and started saying them.
Yeah.
So if there's two things that I would tell you that I've owned this year is, number one, my leadership ability, and not just leading in small communities. I mean, like global leader. Like that's my distinction now. What that looks like, I don't know yet, but I know that I am here to fuck some shit up.
In a good way.
Like, in a really good way. Like I know that I don't know if I'm the one, but I am one of the one that's going to make a profound difference on this planet before I die. And whether that means I'm known or unknown doesn't matter to me. That's not the intent at all. I don't care if I even do it from behind the scenes and there's an impact. I don't care, but I know that I'll be one of those people. Number two is just, and this might seem a little abstract to some of you guys because it has been to me, but my imagination and belief might be the things that I'm most proud of this year. So my ability to imagine has gone absolutely through the roof in terms of, and when I say imagine, it's like whatever you believe is possible for yourself in your life is where your ceiling is. So your imagination is what's capping what's possible for you.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't willing to let themselves have feats of fantasy that are like just seem so unrealistic to them that they won't even let their mind wander in those places because they're like, that's never going to happen. And if you have that ideal, well, guess what? Never going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So it's like whatever beliefs you have. So this year I really allowed my mind to just go, and I have to honestly give a lot of credit to ayahuasca ceremonies for that one, because the things that I saw and experienced just were so far beyond what I thought was actually happening that now I'm just like willing to kind of believe in anything. If it serves, I don't see the point of not believing in it, right? Literally.
I haven't told you this. January 30th.
Power to the people. And then because of that, I saw the response of my life to that imagination and what started happening around me. And because of that, my belief went through the roof.
And so, what about in business?
I don't know that I see the difference anymore. It's a very blurry line for me because where it impacts business is where I see my ability to impact people.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like my belief impacts other people's belief. But I'd say like more in the physical universe, just watching the growth of our company to me is like honestly, I could like start crying right now because I, like to everybody else, like doing work, right? Like what we sacrificed, what we chanced to make this a reality, and not just for us, but our ability to impact people and possibly change the outcome of the planet. You know what I mean? And that might sound so stupid to people listening to this, but I really believe that. I really believe what we're doing here is going to eventually put a huge dent in the way that everyone gets to live their lives on the planet. And to me, that's extremely moving to just see it like, okay, you guys have built the foundation, let's go. And like watch everything just start coming to agreement with the reality that we've been creating is really fucking beautiful. And the money is the measurement of it, but it's not. It's nice because it's allowed for new freedoms to exist in the background, like the physical freedoms to exist, but it's not what's made me turned on by what's happening. It's the other people's belief, because people need money to believe, right? Like that's just how we measure. So it's like they see it and now they believe in it, and it's allowed us to have, like we said, we're building a stage to speak from, and to see people get transformed and moved by that. That means everything to me.
I mean, we said it before, but like when you realize that money is an exchange for people to it's like a like button on Facebook. It's someone saying, hey, I like, love, and appreciate what you are doing and contributing to the world. Yeah. The more value, the more you can contribute to the world, the larger your bank account. And I think for us, that's been, like you said, yes, it's nice and it's freedoms. And, you know, I got like my token car and all that stuff. But like, I think seeing that curve, and it was a really fast curve, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, is just validation that what we are contributing now to the world is actually making global impact.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that for us has been beautiful.
It's just been landmark moment after landmark moment this year. I feel like every month, something's happened where I'm like, wow, like I just can't believe it. And I always say, like action leads to results. Results lead to belief, more action. It's like that cycle. So like even seeing that at work in our lives, I literally feel like I can like run through a mountain.
Yeah.
And that might sound really dangerous to some people and even egotistical, and it's not meant in that way at all. I just feel really powerful. Like I've always dreamed of this emotional state. And I knew that it was like, for me, it's like falling in love, but with like, almost like me. Right. And which I think is in the world, like falling in love with yourself might be the hardest thing on the fucking planet to do. And again, not in a hokey kind of way, but just like love to me was personal belief. And there's always been some glimmer of doubt. And it doesn't mean that that's gone forever. And I'll expand, I'm sure, this year 1 million times more and look at 2014 and be like, nothing in comparison to 2015. But like, I'll never forget this year.
Yeah.
For the rest of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. My acknowledgement of you this year would pretty much be almost word for word what you said. I think it's the first time. So Guy and I, for those who don't know, we've had a very interesting relationship. So we grew up, we were super close. At 12, something happened to Guy. He kind of went down a different path. We didn't connect as much. We had many conversations about it, but basically like I saw him starting to pity himself and look for pity. That was my reality of the situation. I didn't want to give him that. It was really sad because when he needed his biggest brother the most, like I wasn't there for him because I was like, I'm not giving this guy pity, which cut our relationship. 19, he went to Landmark, came back, our relationship got started. And then we've obviously been closer after 19 than we've ever been previously in our lives.
Sure.
But the entire time, Guy, I think, always felt like he was somewhat living in my shadow. I think the first time you went to college was the first time that you kind of like were Guy Ferdman, and it wasn't like Ilan's brother. But even after that, like you were friends with mostly my friends and, all this kind of stuff. And then I think when you moved to California, what our friends even told you, like when we were all in Mexico, was that you've become your own man.
Yeah.
And as much as you led SatoriPrime from a technical standpoint, I think this year, and I would even venture to say towards the end of this year, was when I first saw you like fully take charge and be like, this is where we're heading. I remember there was a moment we were in Miami and our goal was always been like, if you follow the podcast forever, that's like our goal was to impact 1 million people by 2020. And Guy up and went and upped it to 100 million by 2020 without even like having a conversation or anything. He's like, by the way, this is what we're doing now. And I was like, you know what? To me, that was just kind of like a shift for you. I think hearing you on interviews, when we've been on other people's podcasts, you've started to own who you are in a way that I always dreamed was possible. But I can't say that I've seen glimpses here and there, but not like sustained.
Yeah.
And you are now that human being. Where it goes from here, I cannot even begin to fathom.
I know.
But like for me, just watching you for the first time own it, it's just like, it's the most amazing thing.
For me too. Seriously, I'm watching it like a spectator as much as anybody else. Like, I'm like, what's he gonna do next? That's pretty much how I live my life right now because I'm starting to have such big ideas in my head. Like, again, it's just ayahuasca, and honestly, what I can tell you is it's not ayahuasca. Ayahuasca opened a door for me to allow something, and I'm just allowing my mind to wander, but like not the way that a person who's having ADD allows their mind to wander. I'm talking about like life thousands of years from now kind of thinking, and how that could impact the decisions we're making today, the choices that we're going to make, how to make that future come to pass, and what kind of systems we need to put in place, and what governments might look like, and stuff like that. Like really, like crazy ass shit is going on in my head, and I love it. Yeah. I love it. I feel like I'm painting in my mind, but it's allowing me to get impacted in the present in a way that I can't even tell you. And just again, I keep coming back to like believe. I believe so strongly in my bones, in my ability to impact this planet, that I'm willing to die for it. Yeah. And I think that's the shift. Like, you know, same thing with the business. Any time in my life where I've been okay with like, it's this or death, the best of me has come out.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened too. Like, I was so afraid to share this because I was afraid of the pushback, because some of them are really radical type of ideas. And I know that if I'm just like out there, like spitballing ideas, people are going to like think you're an insane person, and I'm like, fine.
Okay.
Cool. I'm like, and if somebody was so threatened that they would like want to beat me up or kill me for it, I would still be like, fine. I've accepted that could potentially happen. And that is all you need for belief. Because if you're willing to die for a cause, like,
nothing can stop you.
Fear can't stop you. And it's still there. It just doesn't have any impact anymore.
Yeah. Awesome.
So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
So what about biggest failures and lessons?
Biggest fucking failure.
I can take one.
Yeah, go for it. Take a stab at it.
I think I shared this on one of the podcasts, but I think the blow up we had with Jay and Stewart, to me, was probably the biggest, the most impactful of the failures. I remember
most surprising to me.
Yeah, it was obviously very shocking. It was one of those things where you feel like you're doing everything right,
mm-hmm.
and then shit still happens. And, you know, it's a great lesson. It's like, you know, the line that kept being used is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Yeah, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, which is a great line. And we actually said it many times in those, multiple week conversations. But I think that to me was the most devastating moment. I just remember having that was the worst 2 weeks that I had this year. It brought up a lot of past stuff with my best friend and stuff like that. But I think realizing that as good as intentions can be, without communication, without clear, concise, honest communication, it doesn't fucking matter, because our good intentions had a horrible impact on two people's lives that I would kill for and take a bullet for. And it was really, really painful. And I think for me, the biggest lesson was, you kind of if you don't check in, if you're just kind of out, when we were kind of out on our island doing our thing, right? Changing people's lives, everything that is SatoriPrime's mission. And at the same time, we're impacting, right? So there's it's like you're driving in a car and there's still an impact, right? You're affecting the ozone, your carbon monoxide is coming out. And I feel like we were doing it and weren't even looking back to see do people that we love, are they getting fucked somehow by this or anything like that? Ultimately, I think that was a big, big failure. Or at least, perceived failure, whatever you want to fucking call it. But
you know what? Here's the thing I'd like to do. So 2014 is the last time I'm using that word. I'm done with that word. Why? Because it drives all the wrong emotions, right? And I've redefined failure a long time ago. It's a really good thing, but there's really I don't use the word expense anymore, ever. There's no expenses in my world. Everything's an investment. Investment that you're just getting back in time, relationships. Sometimes it's money. It's always being returned. And like you said, coincidentally, it ended up being the best thing. It's never a coincidence.
Yeah.
Every single time shit's flipped upside down in my life, it ends up being the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Always.
Every time. Without a doubt, every single time. So it's how can I look at something that's negatively impacted me in a moment and call it a failure, knowing that every single time in my life, it's ended up being a blessing, the best thing that's ever happened to me. So failure is not the right distinction anymore.
Yeah.
We need to come up with a new word, and I'm never using that shit again. And it's just like try to me, it's like but to me, it's a should to me, it's a over to me. None of that's, those words don't even exist to me. They're not in my vocabulary anymore. Failure is out. Like I even have a tough time calling it a mishap. Like it was just the thing that hit me emotionally the hardest this year. Out of like things in my personal relationship, like in my love life, where I had to deal with like out of integrity and stuff like that. Outside of that, on an emotional level, that's what impacted me the most. Like it hurt me to my core, knowing that I caused somebody else pain.
I think, right? I mean, it's simply like because to me, that quote unquote event led to the greatest lesson of the year from what could have been really horrible experience to actually generating one of the greatest experiences.
Yep. I mean, I would call it like a learned outcome or something.
Yeah, something about learning. We'll come up with it.
Yeah, we'll come up with something. But yeah,
or if you guys have any ideas, if anybody out there's got ideas, just leave a comment below this video. I'd love to. If someone has a distinction, we come up with it together. Absolutely.
Like it's got to be something so it needs to be motivating in nature, almost like to seek them. Like it was the scariest and one of my most proudest moments at the same time this year because it also showed me where me and you are in terms of dealing with things from an empowered place, even when you should feel like absolute dirt at that point in time, and still being empowered and still being able to take responsibility and create from a place that most people have no power in. Right.
Yeah.
And I was really proud of both of us during that time. So kind of both sides. So where do we want to go from here? Anything that you experienced this year in business that also you had like a major lesson from other than that? I would pick that one too. And again, only because it was the most emotional one out of all of them, which tells me that's the one that like struck the biggest chord. And then I would just say like from a non-business point of view, just dealing with like out of integrities inside of a relationship, also just like very hard hitting emotional things that it's just like, you can't learn those lessons. Like you say it all the time now. You can't, we had Jordan Gray on. You can't learn those lessons outside of a relationship. Yeah. And it impacts you because like, relationships are partnerships, right? If there's a reason our partnership is stronger is because my partnership is stronger. Yeah, right? For sure. And there's an impact there also. So dealing with the out of integrities that have been there for years, for like as long, from probably since I was like in 7th grade about relationships. And having to deal with that stuff, I would say were like my biggest failures, but also like the best things that have happened this year. Yeah. Because it's helped me find a lot more balance. Yeah. I mean, even in my interview with the founder of VUG, he has a great line, which I can't remember right now, but he's like something along the lines of like your most miseries are your greatest teachers, greatest lessons, victories, or something like that. Yeah, you make them repeat it a few times on there. Yeah, because I just love that line. Okay, so we covered biggest successes. We covered biggest failures / lessons. Let's move on to creating a new year. Sure, and that process. Yep. So let's create a little bit of a context before we do that and talk about like the technical side. Kind of like I said in the beginning. There's a great distinction we learned at Landmark. It's like you can't put whipped cream on a shit pie and it tastes good. It's still going to taste like shit, right? And they say mud pie, so you don't have to eat shit. But we don't have to keep it that PC. So I know what they want to say is shit, but they can't. Probably true. So what does that mean? That basically means that if you carry, almost like when you go from one relationship to the next, what happens is you're basically showing up to that relationship with all the baggage from your previous relationships. Or when you get a new job, you had a shitty relationship with the boss or something happened at work. You don't show up to the new job as a clear version of you. You show up with all of this shit. Like what walks into the office is, well, this is my shitty boss experience, and this is my shitty coworker experience, and this is how I failed miserably on this project. And it's all there. But it's kind of like under the desk. And as soon as something happens that kind of, sort of, maybe looks like that, like your boss will say something, all of a sudden he stops being new boss and he's like boss 1.2, like version 1.2, because he was the one that happened before. So same thing with the new year.
if you're going to carry those boxes into the new year, the reason people suck at achieving their goals in the upcoming year is because as soon as something happens that looks like some sort of failure, that looks like something that happened the previous year, you automatically revert back to that because it wasn't complete. You didn't have this thing where it was like done, and now you complete that and you move on to the next year with a new game and new goals and all that stuff.
Yep.
So the first thing that Guy and I do, we'll sit down and we'll say, like, is there anything that we need to complete? You know, any goals, anything that we created for 2014 that we didn't achieve? Anything that we said that we were going to do that we didn't do? Anything that we missed the mark on? Anything that we swept under the rug and didn't talk about? Like, we spend a lot of time just completing and dealing with all of that residue.
Yeah, and it's like really any area of life currently, and it could be anything really, that you don't have power in specifically, but there's no self-expression and creativity around it either.
Yeah.
So if you don't have power, freedom of full self-expression in this area of life, chances are is that you're holding on to something, or there's something lingering that is yet to be complete.
Yeah, and it could be something really basic, like sometimes, you know, inside of a relationship or in business or whatever, you had a conversation with someone and it didn't complete. And they said something that kind of rubbed you the wrong way, and whatever it is. Like today, for example, I had a conversation with a friend of ours, our best friend, who honestly, like, he's family. It's not like our close group of friends. We actually call ourselves the family, and we function like a family and all that stuff. And he sent an email. It kind of rubbed a few of us the wrong way. And, you know, it was super easy to just kind of like sweep it under the rug and be done with it, because really at the end of the day, it wasn't that big of a deal. But we're family. And I said, like, the same way that I would have a conversation with Guy if that ever happened, and make sure like that he understood why it came off a certain way or what I took from it. And because the way I explained it, it's like when shit happens, what you're doing is it's basically like, you know, like in a wood, you can put like a wedge in between to split them up a little bit. After a while, at first it's very, very tiny, but then you forget that you stuck the wedge. And over time, it's just that gap is going to grow and grow and grow, and it becomes a rift. And it's very difficult to bring things back from here. But when you catch them early on, you could just eliminate it like that. And as soon as you take it out, it's back to normal. And so we had this amazing conversation today. And honestly, like, all three of us walked off the phone. We were like, I love you. Because what's left when you complete shit like that is really that. It's just love.
Yeah.
So
it's possibility. It's just empty. It's empty space to now create in, and versus it's being versus there's something already in a space and it sucks.
Yeah.
And then let's pretend it's not there.
Yeah.
It's what we call the elephant in the room effect.
Yeah. And it will literally vacuum your goals.
And anything that could have been possible is now pretty much null and void until that's taken care of.
Yeah. Which is why people don't achieve things in the new year, right? Like, we all come in with lofty health goals and wealth goals and relationship goals and all this shit. How many people actually achieve them? How many times have you actually achieved them, right? So that's, you know, it's another reason why, like, the car for me was so monumental, because I remember I set the goal in May, and in September the thing was sitting on my driveway, and it was like, holy shit, it's like manifested. So that's the first thing we do, right? Is there anything else that you want to add to that process?
I would just say that whatever we say here, it's applicable to everything that you do. Like if Ilan and I are about to get on the phone with somebody, and let's say your perception is, holy fuck, this person's amazing. Like, you put yourself beneath them. There's some past based belief that's holding you back from having power when you come into that conversation. Now you have that conversation and you're stuttering and you're giggling and you feel awkward and all that stuff. You don't have power there, right? Like, that's just what we do to try to survive the moment. Yeah. You can do the same exercise in anything. It's like, even if you're going to get a job and you're going on an interview and you're nervous, or you have to public speak, or you want to go ask a girl out across the room or a guy out, whatever it might be, and there's that I don't believe in myself thing happening, or I'm not good enough thing happening, you can apply the same exercise.
Yeah, 100%. Every time I have a big conversation with like a potential new client, or when we were getting on the phone with Stuart and Jay, you know, every single time we would just sit for like 5-10 minutes and just clear, like,
what's your concern? Yeah.
One of the things I remember we said was like, super scared that this is going to be the end of this
of the relationship. Yeah.
And it's good because instead of you bringing that into the space, right? Like the luggage, it's just kind of gone. Like you leave it outside the door. Trust me, they're always there for when you want them, but it's very powerful. So that's step one. We complete all the games, etc. And then from there, now you have a blank slate. And the blank slate, the way that we usually do things is we keep very clear what our mission. So our new mission, thanks to Guy Ferdman, is to impact 100 million people.
Hey man, if you want 1 million, I'll do the other 99 million.
No, is to impact 100 million people by 2020, right? So that leaves us basically 5 years to get this done. So that's our main goal, right? That's the underlying everything that we do. The fact that we train people on Facebook, the fact that we're going to do live events this year, all that stuff is inconsequential. It's just a means to that end.
Yeah.
So every goal that we set up now needs to align with that main mission. So if we create something and that detracts from the mission, that doesn't become a goal. As good as that might make us feel. So for example, I mean, I'm not saying that we would want to do this, but if, for example, one of our goals was that we're going to not work for 3 months and live in Costa Rica, for example, could you see, and I'm just making it very like crazy here, but could you see how that would be very not conducive to now reaching 100 million people? So we would sit there and be like, you know what? Awesome goal, love it. Not really getting us there.
Right.
Right? Not moving the train down the track to where we want to go. If anything, that's like moving us backwards. So those are the questions that we ask ourselves. Anything else you want to say?
No, perfect.
Okay. After that, so you set up big ass goals, like big ass by the end of the year, here's what we want to achieve. Now, here's something that I learned from someone very, very smart guy by the name of Todd Herman. He said that to the brain, anything longer than 90 days out is no longer a goal. It's just a vision. It's an idea. It's a want and like a desire of some manifestation down the road. But the only things that you can ever focus on are 90-day goals. That's how our brain works. It works to create that. So what we then do is we chunk down these big ass at the end of the year, here's where we're going to be goals, into much smaller quarterly goals, monthly goals, and then weekly tasks, daily projects. Weekly projects, daily tasks. Because when you look at a mountain, right? So like say at the end of this year, we create a goal, and we kind of spoke about this, so I'm just going to throw this out. Like we want to reach $10 million in revenue, okay? Which I think if you asked us how we're going to get there, both of us would be like, no fucking clue. Right? But that's a number big enough and scary enough that it's just worth playing for. Now, in order to do that, now we would need to set up a lot of parameters, because if you say something like that, it's like if a person is 300 pounds and by the end of the year, they're like, I want to be 150 pounds. What happens in the brain is if it's too unrealistic, the brain just doesn't even recognize it as anything. It
doesn't allocate any processing power.
Yeah, it's just noise. It's just noise. So what you want to find is something that is scary enough where you don't know the how. You can't strategize your way to the end of the year goal. Because if you can see how and the strategy, you're leaving out what I think is the most amazing part of setting up goals, which is the magic. The stuff that no one can fucking explain, the magic. You know, the amazing person that shows up into your life, the incredible partnership, the perfect thing happening at the perfect time where you're just like, oh my God. Because if you can strategize how to get there, you basically walk like this with your blinders on to that thing.
It wouldn't work anyway, yeah.
You're not allowing for the universe to just provide you down this beautiful path that sometimes will look completely different than what you thought. But to me, that's the magic. That's the word I'm actually creating for 2015 is like 2015 is going to be magic. And that's pretty much the process that we go through. Is there anything else you want to add?
I was just going to say, like, the way I think about it is, I think at least the way that I believe brains work for the most part is we have a very linear way of thinking about everything. So everyone looks like an A and B, like a straight line to get there. And any entrepreneur will tell you it's like this. But I don't believe I used to believe, okay, well, it's not linear, it must be chaotic. But I think it's organized chaos, right? It's just the universe is not set up in a linear fashion. But our brains, with our limited, feeble, stupid capacity, even though we're geniuses, all of us, we're limited by our third dimensional space. So we have a very difficult time in imagining in abstract ways. And everything I was saying before, it's me kind of like pushing my brain to think abstractly.
Yeah.
And not thinking in a linear type of way. Like, who cares A and B? I might be like A, L, M, Z, C, D, G, and then I'm like, oh, G is it, right? Like, and it just happens to be that way. So that's what I'm saying. Like, magic to me, it's like organized chaos, and it's allowing yourself to live in an abstract kind of fashion where you really you create without putting a picture as to how it's going to look when it arrives, and just allow it to be. And I have to tell you that when you do that, and that might sound so freaking weird, like, how the hell do you do that? Again, it's just something, it's experience, but it's like, look at your own experience when like magic does happen. I can nearly assure you it wasn't linear. Yeah. You didn't do something and then like something happened. It's just like, oh shit, this is here, but I was doing this and how did that happen? Like it blows your mind. It surprises you. So pay attention to those phenomenons and don't think, oh, that was a weird coincidence. Look, and you'll see a pattern. That's been going on in your life for a long time. If there's a pattern, it's not coincidental, but it's not linear either. Yeah. So allow yourself to start believing that things are coming to you. Like if you say it, I'm telling you right now, it's coming. The only difference is if you say it and have an image of what it's going to look like, it's just not going to look the way you think nearly at all, almost ever. But it's coming and it's coming fast. And I'm sorry. And I'm obsessed right now with Louis Pasteur for no reason except for he said, chance favors the prepared mind. And I think that like literally sums up all of life. Education is nothing more than to prepare yourself to have particular experiences. You draw on those experiences so that what appears like chance becomes opportunity. Yeah. Right? And that's what happens when you start mastering and learn about learning is chance, luck. What people who don't understand this call luck starts seeming like to everybody outside like you're really lucky. That's how we look at sports stars. Oh, he's so lucky. He was genetically predispositioned for this. He's a natural talent. And these are the things we say to talk about these things. Oh, he's a natural talent. Yeah, right. Go talk to one person who's a natural talent and ask them about their work ethic. And you'll find out that they do something that nobody else does. They experience something that nobody else has experienced. Anyway, sorry, going on a rant. Yeah.
So I just want to couple of things I want to point out to you. One, when you're creating these goals, sometimes people will say something like, I want to get out of this job, or I don't want that. I want this, right? Here's what you got to realize. The universe, at least from my experience, does not understand the word I don't, like don't, no. All those words are eliminated. So whatever comes after the word, I'm going to make it very, very extreme. Like if you said something like, I don't want to gain the weight back, you will, the way it travels to the universe is I want to gain the weight back. It leaves out the don't. So you want to make sure.
It doesn't even say I don't. It just weight. Yeah. Like if you're like 15 pounds, I want to scared to lose 15 pounds. It's just like 15 pounds. Okay. 15 pounds.
Exactly. That's the way the brain works. And that's what it focuses on. So you want to make sure that your goals and the things that you're creating are actually from a positive standpoint, not negating something. Always creating, not negating.
And I'm sorry, and that's really important to verbalize it in a positive way. So instead of I want to lose 15 pounds, talk about you increasing your health. Exactly. Losing 15 pounds will be a result of you actively pursuing increasing your health. Exactly. Healthy people lose weight easily. Sick people, it's mission impossible. Exactly. So it's all about creating a context that for you is like, ooh, that lights me up. Losing 15 pounds doesn't light anybody up. It's a fucking uphill battle. It's terrible. And then you lose it and it's right back anyway. So great context that worked for you.
And then the other part, which you kind of alluded to right now, is physical goals are fantastic. I'm all for them, like the numbers, the this, the that. But at the end of the day, the thing that makes the biggest difference is who you be. So at the end of the year, there's you become like you. I'm going to be the being of X, right? So Guy is a global, like right now, his being is global leader. That's what he developed in 2014. The money goals, the this goals, the business goals, it's nothing. But he got to a place in his life where he is now being global leader. So what we're looking for, someone said to us on the mastermind the other day, it's like, I want money. And I was like, got that. What would money provide for you? Why do you want money? Right? So it's like, again, back to the car. When I created the whole thing, what I wanted, so you have to understand, like, house being foreclosed on, didn't know if we were going to get kicked out. We were working 12 to 14-hour days, pulling out nothing from our business, like literally like living like we're on welfare.
Like a month away from being broke.
Literally, it was just, it got to a point that my wife was like, if you don't pull this amount of money out of your bank account every single month, we cannot survive. Period. We cannot put food on the table. All this kind of stuff, right? So this is the world that I'm living in. So for me, what I kept wanting was a being of peace. I wanted to be peaceful. I wanted to stop going to bed at night and having to block thoughts of what the fuck am I doing to my family? How the fuck am I going to survive this? And it was all around money, right? Like all these concerns. I would wake up with them. I would go to bed with them. And then the entire day was just this process of trying to be like, I don't need this right now. Like, come back later. I need to focus on creation. I need to focus on helping people. Like that became my agenda during the day. But all I wanted was peace. I just wanted to feel like I could breathe and everything was good. So the car is my peace. I know that sounds really weird, but like my Satori, it's my moment of enlightenment. And it just sitting there because it really is that. It was the moment in our business that I can honestly say money is not a concern anymore at all. Not in reality, not in my head, nothing. It's just like, I know the universe will now provide us every resource we need possible to achieve our 100 million people. Okay. So for you with the being, right? So like Guy said, a perfect example, you want to lose weight. What would you be like? What would the being feel like when you lost that? Would it be health? Would it be vitality? Would it be joy? Would it be whatever it is, right? Like focus on that because that is what your brain and body will fight for, not for the physical.
I also want to just I want to throw one little thing in here. Sorry, I want to throw one little thing here. I want you guys to just consider for a moment that spiritual practices and scientific practices are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
My personal view is that all the arts right now are merging into everything. So like to take something spiritual and show you scientific, there were doctors in China who were trying to heal a patient who had a tumor in her breast, like she had breast cancer. And there's a video online, you could search it, search like doctors cure cancer, like breast cancer or something like that with meditation. I'm not really sure what it's called, but there's 8 doctors in China basically meditated on healing this woman. And the way that they did it was, and they show you the breast and the mammogram with the tumor. And this is shown in real time. And 8 doctors sit around her and they imagine what they would feel like if she was in the room and she was healthy, what they would feel like, what their emotional state would be like, knowing that she was well. So they sit there and they meditate, and you literally watch under the mammogram, you see the cancer, and it just goes like this. Just shrinks, and then disappears in real time, right? So we're taking a spiritual practice of meditation and focus, right? And being, right? These are all spiritual terminology that people think are really hokey. And then we're applying it to science, which is we're vibrating at a certain frequency, and there's a frequency of health. Frequency of health is an emotional state. Like your emotions, your feelings are different frequencies and vibrations in your body, right? Yeah. So if you can vibrate at that frequency, what are you doing? you're re-energizing cells. You're creating vitality. And that's what they did to this woman. So here's a scientific study, scientific proof that your being and your belief and your emotional state is at the impact of the results in your life. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. As you said that, I just really hurt my shoulder the other day. I think it was Friday. And as you're saying that, I was like, you know what? I've been focusing on, when like you don't feel something until that thing hurts.
Yeah.
Like you don't know that you have a head there until you have a headache and you're like, oh God, it hurts. So it's been really debilitating. So it's like little movements and I'll do something and I'm like, God damn it. It's so frustrating. But now as you said that, I was like, you know what? Instead of focusing on healing, if my focus is actually on the feeling of when I'm healthy,
right?
Of the not feeling the arm, right? Like,
and it's very specific, right? Because when you feel well, you're like, yeah, I feel great, and like that, stuff. But this is another weird thing, right? So I love weird shit. They have done studies that they found out that cats purr. That frequency makes their body heals faster.
Wow!
It increases bone density, and it literally makes them heal faster. Now, here's the interesting part. I lived with 2 cats for 7 years. Anytime I brought my cat to a vet, when it like gets a scrape or it's got like its fur cut off or goes through a traumatic experience, what does it do? It seeks me out like crazy. They're like on me. Why? Because I make them purr. Right? And they intuitively know if they purr, they're going to heal themselves faster.
Wow.
Now I want you to, now here's another consideration. Egyptians, they found that basically the way that they built the pyramids, at least one of the theory goes, it was all sound resonance. So they lifted these blocks through sound. They have like devices that you place underneath, they create a certain resonance, and then literally like you can push it with like one finger. And there's a guy in Florida who basically built these pyramids using an okay, it doesn't matter. It's all done through vibrational frequency. They've also found that the pyramids, what they used to do is they used to put them in these machines, and they would shoot vibrational frequency through the body. It would make the body translucent, and their doctors would look through the body and actually see where disease was, put them into a specific machine that had a specific resonance, and that resonance would cure the body. And I'm pretty sure that that's why people in the Bible lived like 500-600 years, because they were healing them through vibrational frequency. Now, consider this. What was the holiest animal to the Egyptians?
Cats.
Vibrational resonance.
Interesting.
Right? So and now it's like, we're not discovering shit. This is just like the Matrix. It's happened many times before. At least I'm sorry for all the religious people, but it would appear that it has happened many times. So we're rediscovering things, right? And this is, I think, going to be a huge insight into the 21st century, vibrational frequency, and also time relativity. So anyway, without getting into all that shit, I just thought that was really interesting stuff.
So that's really important. It's like you want to create the being of what it would feel like when you achieve that goal. That's going to be the thing that keeps you going. That's going to be the thing that gets you out of bed. That's going to be the thing that, like, when shit hits the fan, and trust me, shit will hit the fan. I think this was like one of the first podcasts I did about resistance and how people like always resist everything. But resistance is a clue that you're on the right path. If you are comfortable and your goals are small and it's just like, hey, I'd like to survive another year, guess what? You are not going to be met with that much resistance. You're not like fighting the ripples of the ether, right? But when Guy and I say something like, we're going to transform 100 people in the next 5 years, do you think we're going to be met with a few fucking moments of resistance? I mean, I can't even imagine the path that we're about to take. But you know what? The only thing that I know is what we're going to create is a being, like who we're going to have to be in order to make that a reality. That's the gift. The world will be a better place for it. Trust me. But that's the gift. Like, that's why we put ourselves into this pressure cooker of make incredible shit happen.
It's a great analogy. I don't want to call it a pressure cooker. I don't feel pressure to perform on that. I feel called to perform on that. So to say pressure cooker, it's like as if there's forces on me that are thwarting me from it.
I meant like,
I got it. Like the urgency of,
like, Lord of the Rings, you know, when he has to take that ring to like up that mountain, like he knows, guess what? this shit's got to be done. And
Yeah.
I'm the one, like, I'm making this shit happen.
Yeah.
And I will face anything that you throw at me. And I will, this little freaking hobbit, 3 feet tall, going up against monsters, like 60 feet tall. He just makes it happen. So I'm sure on our path, we're going to be met with things. But you know what we've developed, and I think this is like a credit to years of personal development, is witnessing things as just events, not as like tragedies or things that can derail us. It's like it comes and it's like, okay, this is just what we have to deal with now. And it's fine. And we will deal with this now.
Yep.
And when we first started, it wasn't like that. It was like everything that happened was like the end of
I will say also that the thing that's out there that we're not dealing with. It's something that we haven't internally dealt with.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Like there is no spoon. You are like only realize that you are the spoon, then the spoon bends because you realize it's not the spoon that's bending, it's you that's bending.
Yeah.
Right. That's all Matrix shit. But like it really is that way. There is no out there. Everything is just a reflection for you of things that you've either dealt with or haven't dealt with.
Yeah.
So when it's challenging, you're not complete about that. And that's why this event is here, is another opportunity to get more complete with it. When it's complete, it never happens anymore. So whatever challenges we face is stuff that we haven't finished yet.
Yeah.
We just haven't gotten to a place where we see we can develop that. Like we can't develop that until that's complete. That's all it comes down to.
It's interesting. And this analogy just popped up in my head. But like one of the reasons that we love and resonate with entrepreneurs so much is because for us, personal development is everything. Like what happens in between the years. I know we use the 90% is dependent on that. If you ask us both personally, I think it's like 99% is that. 1% is whatever.
9999999.
The other shit is just technical nonsense that you can figure out. But
yep.
I think it's interesting that when you're going through your daily stuff, like, you're a worker, you're this, you're that, whatever. I remember we used to speak to people about like, do you have a spiritual practice? Do you have a personal development practice? Do you do this? Do you do that? And it just wasn't important for people. And we're having conversations to try to explain to them like, why this should be important, which we gave up early on. But like, I remember having those conversations and we got into this whole world of entrepreneurs. And you know what? Entrepreneurs seek out personal development on their own. No one has to tell them like, this is important, because they realize early on that if I want to be successful, I got to handle my shit.
Yep.
I got to figure out what's working and not working in between my ears to make this happen. Because no other outside factor is going to make that happen. And I think that's why we love it and resonate with it, because you put yourself in the context, and then that's just a function of what needs to happen. So for us, I think the 100 million people is a context now, a big ass context. But inside of that context, we know that we will get our lives. And when we get our lives, 100 million people will get theirs.
Yep.
And I love
I'm supposing it's going to be way more. 100 million is where I got to this year. I hope that by next year, this time when we're having this conversation, I have the confidence to put another 0 on that motherfucker.
I love it.
I'm like, you know what? Because ultimately, I would like that number to be 7 billion people. And I think that's, again, like that might sound really egotistical to some of you guys. It's really not coming from that place. It's just coming from a place of, I see that there's a choice that as a species in humanity that we can make that most people don't even know is available to them. Whether or not people want to make that choice, that's up to them, because that's what a choice is. Choose freely, right? And I don't think that it would bother me too much not having people choose that. For me, what I see my mission is I just need you to know that you have one. And to have a moment where you can actually have an opportunity to make it. Because most people this choice that I'm talking about, most people go to their deathbed without even knowing that they've ever had that choice to make.
Yeah.
And for me, that's unacceptable. That's what's unacceptable to me. It's not about changing the world and destroying things and doing all these crazy things. I just want you to know that you have a choice, and to give you a moment to make it or not, and then go about whatever the hell you think you're supposed to be doing. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. No one can tell you how to live your life.
Yeah.
I hope you live it passionately, and I hope that you find something that makes that gives you purpose and that it impacts people, because I think that's joyous in nature, and that's being healthy. That's just a healthy way. You look at the body, and if you want to look at microcosm, macrocosm of the world, our Earth is just another organism, and we're cells populating that organism. When cells in the body aren't living their purpose, there's cancer. And the way that humanity looks to me right now is a species with no purpose that's being cancerous. We literally live our species like we're a virus. We take and we don't give. We destroy the host. So if another reason we're passionate about entrepreneurs is they live passionately. They do what they love, and it impacts people. And I truly believe you do what you're passionate about, we will heal this place. We will come back into alignment. So if you don't know that you have a choice, and it's not about entrepreneurship, just a choice you have. You ever want to know what that choice is? You come talk to me directly. But you have a motherfucking choice, and you should at least be given the gift one time in your life to sit there, consider it, and see if it's right for you. And for me, that's my whole life is about just people knowing about that choice. That's it.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. That's the process. And then we just break down those goals into micro manageable projects and break those projects down into daily tasks, end date, finite, right? Like you want to have finite goals. So this needs to be done by this. Ever notice that you work way better under pressure? Like you can do, it's amazing. Like right before you go on vacation, you do amazing amounts of work. Right before, like in 2 days, you do 2 weeks worth of work and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I got that done. No shit, right? So make sure it's finite, and then make sure that each day you have the daily task that you need to complete by that day. And you'll be good. You'll be good to go. And here's the beauty. Some goals you'll crush. You'll get to the end of the year, you'll look back, you're like, wow, we annihilated that goal. And other goals, you know what? You missed the mark. You fell short. You didn't do what you want to look at is not, again, to dismiss the word, not failure. All that happened was you didn't produce the result you wanted. And all that means is something was missing. So you look at an inquiry. Well, what was missing? What we could have put in place? Is it better organization? Is it a better team? Is it another support person? Is another person that's going to be accountable? Is it a tool? Is it whatever it might be? You can start learning from what you've already done so that this year it works just that much better. And that's really it. I mean, there's no other like magical science weird thing to it. It's just get complete, get a mission, make sure everything aligns with that mission, create goals, create the being, and then break that down into micro levels and fulfill and take action. That's it.
Cheers.
Cheers. I finished my beer, but I have one schluck.
There's soot on the bottom of mine. There's literally like oak soot on the bottom there.
All right. So 2014 is a wrap.
Getting there.
I hope everyone, by the time you guys hear this, it'll already be 2015, but I hope everyone had an amazing New Year's, is healthy, feeling great. If you haven't done this practice, I highly urge you to do it now. Better than waiting, 3-4 months, or, for some people like, I missed the window, I'll just wait till next year. And next year starts whenever you say it starts. It can be January 7th to January 7th.
Yeah.
It can be February 7th to February 7th. Who gives a shit?
Elon's best quote of the year is the second best time to get started is today.
Exactly. That's my new favorite
quote of the year right there.
That's my new favorite line.
Yeah.
So yeah, and honestly, just for me personally, guy can say what he wants. This year has been monumental on so many different levels, and it's really all because of you guys. Your love, your support, you push us to do all of this and much more. There's so many days, like even now during the holidays, where all I wanted to do was like fuck off and just be done with it. I'm like, you know what? I can't. There's people relying on me. Like there's people waiting for this, and I'm not going to sit here and dick around and twiddle my thumbs and wait for the new year while everyone else is kind of like, ugh. You guys deserve better. So I want to thank you, all of you, for sticking with us and listening to our rants sometimes, and more importantly, letting us know that we make a difference for you.
Yeah.
And whether that is by buying a product, leaving a comment, writing us a personal email or message, it's all heard and we get it. And it's the reason that we choose to play way bigger than we ever dreamed of or thought that we deserved to play. And for that, I just love and acknowledge every single one of you.
Absolutely. Awesome. Really well said. I was going to say, if there's anything, I was thinking like, what's the thing we get excited about the most? It's never about the sale. It's always about those email here and there that comes through. And we're like, dude, you have to read this, right?
Yeah.
And we'll just spend like a long time talking about that. That's probably the thing that I love the most, honestly. It's like those, I love when people that you don't know are impacting you, that you're impacting, you find out about it, right? Because you really don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was going to say the same thing, like, a thanks to everybody, honestly, because I'm so clear that personal power is a function of the listening that you get. And we may have done stuff or been a certain way to earn that listening, but it's a gift that's given every day. And every time, you know, it's one thing to talk to a camera online or to speak into a microphone and push content out there. There's no reciprocity in terms of that relationship. But when I come in public and I speak to people and I see the impact, is when I know what we're doing is just creating tidal waves out there. And it's a function of you guys just being like, I came here to listen to you talk. Yeah. And to even be a kind of person in this world that gets that privilege, to me is like a gift from the heavens, you know, and I'm not even a religious man, but a gift from the heavens. And it's so funny. Like I always hear like, you know, people who sing, like musicians who are popular, say like, oh, it's all to you. And it is because they get to be who they are because people listen to them, right? Maybe the context is different, but it's the same thing, really. Like it's just that you guys listen, and that's why we get to share what we share, and it gets to make an impact, and we get to feel about ourselves a certain way and have a belief about what we could generate in this world. So know that if one day, and for me it's more of a when than an if, when one day I do some global shit here, you were a part of that. We're all hopefully going to be a part of that. But it's you, whoever's been a part of it now, who's seen the core, the nucleus of it getting started, you're more responsible for a global shift than you will ever know. And I'm happy to be the voice for those people. So thank you. Best 12 months of my entire life. Hopefully the best 12 months of yours. Hopefully the next 12 months make these 12 months seem like they were nothing, relatively speaking. I know that they will be, actually, because every year of my life has seemed to be the best one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Been awesome.
Leon told me this great line. Leon's my best friend. He's he was basically my older brother. I remember I turned 26 or 27. And he said, Ilan, 27 is the best year of your life. And it was. And then the next year is like, you know what? 28 is even better. Like I said, it's just been like this running thing where every year, and then I just created this line, it only gets better.
Only gets better.
It only gets better. So may this year bring you all magic, love, joy, fulfillment, peace in your life. And may we get to be a small part of it in causing that to happen. By the way, bro, what do you think about leaving this on the blog? And then people can comment and we can actually start a chain and people can share with us what they're creating for 2015.
Give me unedited version of this video. Let's just post it on the blog, and then you could post this on the podcast as a 3 or 4 part or whatever you're going to do with it.
Okay. So for those that are just watching this, like right below, comment. Let us know what you're creating for 2015. Let us know what you're completing from 2014, right? Like let us hold that for you. You don't have to hold that. We can be that vessel for you. That's what Guy and I do for each other. We'll do that for you. So let us know what you're completing for 2014. Let us know what you're creating for 2015. And let's seriously make 2015 be the best year ever. Love you, bro.
Love you too, man.
For all the memories.
Let's kick some ass, Seabass.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. See you soon.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, shit.
We're gonna 3, 2, 1 that one again.
Yeah, you should put that one in as a blooper.
That's a
3, 2, 1.
Yeah.